find something to trace for your sphere. It should be the size of a softball or bigger. We're gonna pretend like the light is hitting this sphere about right here. Okay, so I'm just gonna lightly, my pencil, just put a little circle for where it is going to hit. The light is hitting right there. And I'm gonna erase my arrow. I don't need that arrow. So since the light is coming from this direction, it's going to be lightest here, and then it will radiate outwards. The value will radiate outwards. So you will choose a tonal progression that you completed for your 4 studies. You have pictures if you cut up 2 of them. You wanted to use one. I'm going to use this one because I feel like this is my most successful one. It went from yellow-green to Prussian blue. So this is my lightest value, and that's my darkest value. So I'll be using yellow-green for in here, and then it will radiate outwards. The progression will happen from there, kind of expand out. And the darkest area will be right here. The Prussian blue will be right here. So let's get going. What I'm going to do is mix some of these values. I don't have to mix all of them. As long as I mix a few in-betweens, as I'm painting, the other values, the other tones will just sort of happen as I go. So I'm going to mix this one, this one, this one, and this one. So I have a source. I actually just did this video and produced this sphere, but I guess I wasn't recording. So that's why I have a dirty paint palette that looks like this. There's my evidence. Okay, but I want you to see what I'm mixing, so I want to use this half-dirty paint palette. Okay, these are my colors. I'm going to mix those values that I have arrows kind of pointing to as my source paint. Oh, don't forget dry paper towel. Right now my paper towel is soaking wet. Tonal progression creates 3-dimensionality, and that is the point of learning about it and doing it. So we're going to make this circle into a sphere, like little magicians, with the tonal progression trick up our sleeve here. Clean water. I'm going to make this value first, adding blue to the yellow-green. I think I went too dark because I added too much of the blue, the dark blue. But that's okay, because did I create something I needed? Yeah, whatever. That's fine. I can use it. Okay. Try again. I'm just going to take that brush that I had with that too dark of a value for what I was trying to do, and I'm just going to mix it into some fresh, out of the tube, yellow-green to see if it makes the dark, sorry, it's not dark, the next value on the gradient, on the progression. There it is. Close enough. As long as you have some of these values all pre-mixed, everything else will fall into place as you are mixing and blending on the paper. So now I have this green value and this green value. I need to go darker. I need a darker value, one of these up here. So I have my darkest value blue straight out of the tube. Add just a little bit of yellow. Let's see what I get. Make sure you mix all the way with the brush. Get all that mixed in together, even at the very edge of the brush. Right there. Okay, what do I got? Somewhere around here. Okay, I'll keep that. I like that. I'm going to move over some of this blue. So I'm not going to use a lot of the darkest value for this exercise, so I'm just going to use a little bit, and I'll keep some of the pure color right there for that purpose. And now I need to make something that's a little darker in value than this, because that was about here, so I need to make something in between there. In between this and that one. You want to make sure that this is not a watery application of gouache. So when you're mixing your value of color, it should be just a little flowy. So just a little bit of water. All right, I think I got it. I have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I've got the lightest value, which is just out of the tube. The darkest value is out of the tube, and then I mixed 4. And you can mix, your mixing and blending will happen also on the paper as you're pushing the areas of value together with the brush. It'll naturally blend when it's wet. All right, so I'm going to take my lightest value in this progression. I'm going to plop it down on my highlight, which is right here. And I'm going to go outwards like this. It's going to get darker and darker and darker and darker and darker. And right here is going to be the darkest. Put that down. Now I can go to this one that I made. And I'll put that down. The nice thing about gouache, as we've all learned, is that it dries quickly. It can work to your benefit or make you frustrated. But the good thing about it is that you can always go back with a wet brush and blend. That's what's exciting. If this were acrylic, it would dry in too fast on you, and then that would be it. That's it. So I laid down the next value, which really is this green. I just laid that one down, and this is on there. So I need somewhere between. I need this to happen. This isn't happening yet. So what I do is I make that happen in this space. I wash my brush. I'm going to blend. I dry my brush. And then I touch down in between. I'm really kind of pushing the lighter green, the lightest value, over into the darker green space. And I'm fuzzing it. That's what blending is. It's like you're making it fuzzy. If it looks like rings spiraling outwards like this, sort of radiating outwards, if it looks like rings, you're not doing it right. I mean, you're doing it right at first because it should kind of, you put rings down and then you blend. It should always look like it's kind of a fuzzy transition. Okay, that's definitely fuzzy. Now I'm going to put the next ring right here of this value or this value, and it can blend. So do I have this one? It's this one. I do. I have that one. Here it is. Yay. You can mix all of your values out completely, and that will certainly be easier. But if you want to up for a challenge and you want to if you want to make the in-between value happen by blending like this with a clean brush, that's also a possibility. That happens. Clean my brush off, dry it, feather in. I'm touching lightly in between. So here's the ring. These look very different. These look very, very different, and I want them to fuzz. I want it to fuzz. It's like taking my glasses off. I don't know if anyone else wears glasses, but I am blind as a bat when I take my glasses off. Everything is fuzzy. Fuzzy, fuzzy, fuzzy. You're pushing and pulling the paint around on the paper. It's not a very natural thing to do. And you're also using an implement that's not your hand. It's attached to your hand, which is the brush. So you're doing two difficult things that are beyond your control. So if this is frustrating to you because you're new to painting, please don't be hard on yourself. So I just dried my brush, washed and dried my brush, and I'm making the fuzzies happen a little bit more right here so it blends better. Making the fuzzies happen. Great, I'm satisfied. I'm gonna move on to the next ring. So I need the next darkest value. This was this. I can probably go to this one and be fine. Do I have that one? I don't think so. Somewhere between this green and that green is this one that I want. So just help myself out. I'll just take a little bit of that lighter green, a little bit of that darker green, mix them together. See if that made the green the value that I need. Yeah. Put that down. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to let this dry so I can show you what it's like to blend after your two rings of color are dry. And again, that's the good thing about gouache, is that you can do that. With acrylic, it would just be dry, and then that would be it. You'd have to correct it by painting on top. So I'm going to use this natural lull in the video to just let you guys paint while I watch this paint dry. I'm not going to edit this video. For the sake of time, you guys can just watch the whole thing as you're painting and pretend that I'm there with you, painting. Okay, maybe I'm speeding up the process by blowing on it. Yeah, next time, actually I'm thirsty. I'm gonna go ahead and drink water. I'll be right back. dry? Good enough. All right. So I can take a slightly wet brush tip and scrub back and forth in between, and that will also blend for you. Eventually, what you do when you scrub back and forth, what will happen as you do that is you're going to pick up a lot of pigment, and then it's just going to make it too dark where you don't want it to be dark. So if you gather a lot of pigment, just wipe it onto paper towel or just rinse off again. Just a little bit of water, tip of the brush, hydrates, activates, that's a better word for it, activates the paint again. I use the word hydrate a lot because I teach ceramics as well, so when you're trying to attach two pieces of clay together, and one side of the clay is drier than the other, so this makes sense. When you're attaching something to, say you made a pot and you want to put something on the outside, you would have to, that clay that you're putting on the outside of the pot would have to be at the same moisture level for it to stay on. So I always talk about hydrating the surface with water, making it the same level of moisture. Anyway, I feel like I might have gone too dark too fast. And if that happens to you, that's okay. It happens to everybody. Because you don't want to get too dark too fast. That was too fast. I obviously made a mistake for that whole reason to tell you that that was a mistake. All right, so I lightened it up. I put the lighter green light value on top. What I am going to do is take my darkest pure pigment, the Prussian blue, that I've saved right here. You guys, I don't know if you'd have a progression scale with Prussian blue, because Prussian blue we used for the chromatic darks. We used like the whole tube. I bought 2 sets of gouache. So this is my new Prussian blue. I'm gonna put this around the very edge of the circle. Soon to be sphere. It's transforming into a sphere. Every second it gets more spherical. So somewhere between this blue and this green that I have made last, there's all these values, okay? It's darkest at the very, where's my pencil? Till about here, I'm going to end up being the darkest from here to there. And then it will transition to the medium greens, the medium value greens, and then the lightest near the highlight. All right, I laid down the darkest value. I'm going to go to the pre-mixed value that I had over here. I made at the beginning, and that's about what this one is. So that's fine, that works. I'm going to lay that down, and then I'm going to blend in between. It's hard to see on the camera, but they do look pretty different to me in person here. Lay that down. And I think I'm going to lay down the next lightest value. So I'm going from dark to light right now. Before I was going from light to dark. Now I'm going to go from this direction. So I was there, and now I'm going to put in this one right here, which I don't think I mixed, and that's okay. So I'll just take some of this that I just put down, move it over here, and then add a little bit of the next, this green that I made that I was mixing, add that in, see if it changes anything. And if it looks different, yeah, can lay that down. And I'll mix again. I was in the wrong green. This is the green. This is the green that was there. Okay, so I mixed a little bit of this green value and that value together to try to make it in between. Yep, that looks like it. Washing my brush off, cleaning it off, and I'm going to blend this area that I laid down. Fuzz it out. I still think this is a little too dark right here. So somewhere between this value green and this value green, there's an in-between. And I'm going to make that happen. I might not have it over here, but I'll make it happen. Because this light value green I have is too light. So I'll take some of that. I'll move it over to a space in my palette I don't have. And then I'll add a little bit of this darker value green, or just mix it right. Let's see, does that do anything? Yeah, this is like the in-between green that I was looking for, the in-between value. So I go all the way around with it, like that. I might let this dry and push back and forth, or I can take, there's too big of a jump between here and here. I can go back and take that lighter green that I had and touch down, because I had just put this value green right here down, so it's still wet. So if I put the lighter value green in there and kind of dab, that will blend for me just fine, because it's wet to wet. I still have a lot of light green in the center that hasn't dried, because I put a lot in there at the beginning. I want to blend this. I want to blend these two spaces together a little bit more. So I'll take my pure light yellow green value, the lightest value, and just touch down and kind of fuzz away. It's all about the fuzzing. Take those glasses off. Fuzz it out. Okay. I'm satisfied with this area now. I still have to fill out this space. And then over here I have to do some blending, so I'll take a slightly damp brush, just the tip of the brush is a little bit wet, and I'll kind of dab like this or push back and forth, and it'll fuzz that area for me, and it won't look so different. And if I went too dark in a space, oops, that's okay. Grab onto a lighter value and put it on top, and it should fix itself for you. All right, we're in business here. This should take you about 30 to 45 minutes to do. If it ends up that you mess up on your first one, do another one. It doesn't take that long, and practice makes perfect. So I finished the transition from in this area, and now I gotta do the top. I do not have this darkest value, the Prussian blue, the darkest value of this tonal progression does not exist up here. The reason why is because the highlight is not directly in the center, it's up here. If it were in the center, then I would see the darkest value at the edge. But the darkest value has been pushed over that way. Okay, so I will not see it. I will probably see, I will not see this one. I will not see this one. I will not see this one. I will see this one. Okay? Nope, too dark. Too dark. That's better. That looks like an obvious line, doesn't it, from here to here? But I'm going to fuzz it out. I can either wait for this to dry and kind of scrub it, or if I still have this value of green right here, I can put that down and it can be wet to wet blend. Every so often you're going to need to wash your brush to dry it. Keep going. All right. Take two. Second cut.